don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.
Happy International Women's Day. My name is Toke Makinwa, and today we celebrate the strength, the resilience and brilliance of our women. Our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, and every single woman breaking barriers and walking an impact. But beyond the celebration, we need real conversations. Women are still judged for how we choose to live our lives, how we speak. Owning our femininity comes with labels and pushbacks. And why? Why is a woman's confidence seen as a threat? Today we're unpacking it all, and we're talking about what it truly means to embrace your femininity, break free from limiting beliefs, and create a world where women are free to just be and breathe. Now join the conversation using hashtag Rubbin'minds. Let's get into it. Today I get to displace my very good friend. Before we begin, I have to introduce you to someone who has been the face of Rubbin'minds, a brilliant host, a feminist, a true he for she, a man who continues to champion important conversations. Please welcome with me Ebuka Obi-Uchendu. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. That was brilliant. Thanks a lot for being here today to help me do this. I don't even know if I should. I'm just going to be an observer today.
Okay.
As a great ally, like you said. And, you know, the word feminism or feminist has become almost taken away from what it truly means, you know, and it's very important that we have these conversations. Actually, International Women's Day just happened, but the whole of March is International Women's Month.
True.
And I feel like more than anything else, today it's very important to have that conversation because I feel like the past week has been a lot.
There's been a lot going on
for women in this country.
Yes.
It's
and
been one
isn't it
thing
ironic that it's actually in the month of
literally
March?
happening in March. I mean, we started off with, I think it was the Speaker of, or the ex-Speaker now of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Mojisola Miranda, who was Speaker for 40-something days and was booted out in very dramatic fashion. We're trying to recover from that. Then the whole Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan situation started. And then she got suspended for flouting Senate rules. While no investigation was done to her sexual allegations, you know. And then thirdly, I think it was on Friday, we heard about the CEO of Ikeja Disco, who's a woman as well. We heard about Air Force officers going to the office, putting her in a boot. They locked her up in a boot, beat up staff, seized their phones. All these are alleged, of course. But it just makes you wonder. 3 women in 1 week, highly placed women. Gives you an idea of what happens to women who are not in those positions and what the actual reality is. But
now, I mean, before I start with, you know, the further conversations we're going to have, today you're literally an onlooker.
Yes.
How does that feel, giving up the seat to literally have women, you know, give us your platform to share our thoughts, ideas, and accelerate action forward?
First of all, I think the show is in great hands, of course. But secondly, I mean, we have brilliant guests today. And I'm waiting to be enriched, you know, by the conversations that will be had today. I've never want to be threatened by honest conversations. And I think Nigerians, and maybe men in particular, should be open to those conversations as well. Maybe that will help us, you know, get to where we should be.
Now, talking about men, you literally went right into my next question. How important do you think it is for men to not only just support, but to be at the forefront of important conversations that you have even raised, you know, with women and International Women's Day and things that have to do with the girl child and women in general?
I think it goes without saying, and this is not just a Nigerian conversation now. We're seeing what's happening in the United States. We're seeing what's happening globally. There's a move to sort of reverse a lot of things now. We hear DEI everywhere now in America, and it's code for so many things, you know. It's almost like, why should, if a woman gets something, she hasn't earned it? And we know, people who work around women know how hard women work to get to those positions. So when you live in a patriarchal world now, not just country, men hold all of these spaces. And if they are not a part of the conversation, it's going to make things twice as hard, which is why we are seeing the things we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks now. And yeah, so it's very important. And I'm hoping to, like I said, get enriched because these guests are looking, I mean, they were fired up before we came on air already, so I know it's going to be great conversation.
I mean, the studio, before we actually resumed, Ebuka kind of just delved into what exactly we will be touching on. Patriarchy, it isn't just a women's issue, it's a societal one, and, you know, it affects everyone, from the, regardless of wherever you find yourself.
Once you're human.
It definitely affects you. And we have to have these conversations because it's not every day that women are honored. I mean, Ebuka would disagree with me that we have too many days celebrating women. But apart from Women's Day, every conversation that leads to us, you know, talking about equal rights, equality in the workplace, equal pay, and just, you know, having more women involved in these conversations is one that we'll always be up for. So our guests today, as, you know, we have said, are here on this International Day Rubbin'minds issue to delve deep into the realities of patriarchy. Joining us is Prudence Stanley Zabulion. She's the creative director of Charis Interior, and Lolo, who I love to call, Omotunde Lolo Adebowale, who is a media personality, just as I am. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
You all look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy International Women's Month.
Thank you so much, Ebuka.
Nice to see.
Thank you. So let's delve right into this conversation. What does the empowerment look like to a Nigerian woman today? You know, someone can sit here and say we've come a long way, but we're talking about the landscape today. What does empowerment actually look like to us today?
Okay, who's rallying the card?
Lolo, I know you're long-winded. You know, whoever is as passionate can take the lead and open the floor.
For me, sometimes I'm beginning to dread the word empowerment. Because when they say empowerment around women, you see them bringing machine, a sewing machine or a grinder or telling us to learn a skill or something. How about the empowerment of our minds, which is the most important equipment to use to be able to power all the other tools? It is every time a woman is empowered in her mind, I think that is where our problem starts from. They're okay if we're empowered with a sewing machine or empowered with a hairdressing tool, but when our mind is empowered, that is where the threat begins. And you're now wondering that, why are we talking from two sides of our mouth? When you say empowerment, it's an omnibus word. That means we can be empowered in many ways. The girl child can be empowered through education. You can be empowered through your skills. You can be empowered to become a financial juggernaut. You can be empowered to become anything. But anytime a woman's mind is empowered, it becomes a problem. And you're wondering that in this time and age, when is the fight going to stop? When are we... Why is it that when it comes to us, it's about empowerment? Are you telling me the men are all put together? They don't need a lot of do-ups, scaling up, upskilling? It has to be us women. We don't even mind. But when we take what is handed, it's still a problem to have. So that's why sometimes when I look at the situation generally, I feel a little bad at times that, okay, they want us to have the candle. They give us the candle, then they snuff out the light. So I'm wondering,
like be empowered, but still put
just stay there. Don't let be empowered with your skills, but let your mind be little. That's where I find it a problem.
All right, Miss Prudence, would you like to chip in on that? I also want to just add, you know, you can also shed in what you feel about the role of patriarchy when it comes to women and systemic oppressions, because she started touching on it in terms of giving you the candle, but still wanting to snuff out the light. You know, as a woman, what does that look like for you?
Okay, so I will start with, you know, my personal experience. I have come a long way, but it starts with knowledge of self-worth. We women expect everyone else to do something for us. When are we going to find our voice? So even if the government empowers us, it takes knowledge of self-worth to be able to, you know, effectively push through on the things that we want to do. So I think that this matter is very serious. It is really deep, like I always say. So it starts from home. It starts from the way we are wired as the women, because we keep the home. How do you see your female child? How do you see the boy child? What are you telling him? What are you teaching her? So it starts from there.
So what are some daily ways you feel like women experience systemic oppression? I know for the longest, I'll share one and we can all talk about it. As a woman wanting to rent a property in Lagos, you know, the landlord is more interested when it's a woman. They feel if it's a man, there's more financial security. Their heart is a bit down. They feel like they won't have to chase the man around for
Yes.
rent,
Yes.
not knowing that there are lots of women who are actually bringing home the cheddar. You know, if you're a single woman, it's even worse. You talked about the family, which is why I'm asking this question. In what ways, and you know, what ways can we highlight these things that, you know, women are faced with daily? Career opportunity, career choices, just even in the way we're spoken to. In what ways do you think that we, you know, we face these systemic oppressions?
It's in everywhere we turn. Anywhere a woman is trying to assert herself or be visible, you can't be very sure that there's a patriarchal system that is already operating there. So I don't think there's any area that you will say the patriarchy doesn't have hands. Is it the family unit? You know, I used to tell the men that we need to redefine what the modern man is. Before, men used to thrive on the fact that they are protectors and they provide. But unfortunately, those stereotype roles have changed. Now, women have stepped into the role of protecting. They've stepped into the role of providing. So that means the traditional description of a man is changing.
Can I challenge you further? And I don't mean to break this up. I think it's always been. I think the difference is back then, our mothers would, in the name of, again, systemic oppression, you know the way the family is structured, the man is the lead. She might be the breadwinner. We've had people who would say their mothers paid their school fees, but they always thought it was their fathers.
I would even say that is the progressive woman forward. Those were the ones you're talking about, from which some of us were birthed.
Yes.
The ones before, they lived for their husband's pleasure. Many of them are in those homes, not because of love, but because they had a role to play. They needed to be on the farm to procreate. So it's not necessarily about love. So the man feels like, I have the headship. All the challenges that we're having in this present time, that the oppression of the patriarchy is so obvious, is because of enlightenment. Now those things that were in the dark is now in the open. A lot of my mother in our lifetime, I just used to look at her. That why do you like your life this way? You can say this is one thing you did for you and you alone. The you in their time was not existing because men did not see women like somebody that needed to accept themselves. So that's in the home front. Now women are in career spaces. I know many of my friends have lost jobs for having babies. And they are as good as any of their any of their colleagues, but because they need to take a break to be able to take care of home, they are faced with a lot of oppression. And now they are accusing us of being emotional. That is another new one. I'm like, okay, these were the things that men used to say made women special. Why is it now what they use to demonize us?
Sorry to cut in there, because I mean, and I want to play devil's advocate.
Yes.
Because I've been quiet. And it's because you touched on this now, you know, women, there are things that women will always go through that men can never experience, right? Childbirth, all of those things, which will make you believe that women understand each other better, right? But I see this narrative a lot about women supporting women and how it doesn't necessarily apply that way. And I mean, we saw the example all week, right, with this Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan situation. 3 senators, I think 2 former senators and 1 currently sitting, came out to defend the person she accused. Now, it's an allegation she made, of course, so you can't necessarily say she was right or wrong or whatever. But it was almost dismissive of her entire experience, you know, so it makes you wonder. I'm not saying they have the responsibility to fix it, but what does that speak about in this context of patriarchy and women in situations like this being better understanding of what women go through?
I will.
You left that one for her.
I'll answer it, but I want the guest first before I say something.
Okay.
Okay, so I will speak from a different perspective.
Okay.
And I'm always a believer of the fact that many of these things can be self-inflicted. So, okay, if we do not see the man as a competition and the man doesn't see us as a threat, it will be a good society. A whole lot of things will be sorted. The issue is, how do we see ourselves? If we find that there is a threat somewhere, we will be on the defensive. I think we should focus on that empowerment. It's key. How do we treat ourselves? And I'm not saying this in comparison to a man. I'm saying we as women. I have staff, female staff. How do I make them feel? Because they've gone through a lot. They are facing these things we're talking about.
Yes.
But this is an opportunity to be impactful. What are we doing? So I'm coming from that angle, because we have to look at it. If we're trying to solve a problem, it is not just about pointing fingers. We need to know what else we can do to save the day.
Now, while I agree with you, I think you just even added more burdens to the burdens that we women have. I have to be honest.
Really?
Yes, I have to be honest. I hear you on empowerment, empowered women empower other women.
Yes.
I understand that it's very important for you as a woman who has been empowered to open, when you walk through that door, you leave that door open for others to come in. But before we even came to be, the dynamic of this competition has always been. And it wasn't, the tone wasn't set by women. Women are, as she said, even to hire a woman in a workplace, you start to think about the fact that she would want to get pregnant. If she wants to get pregnant, she would need some time off. Just even in this industry, shout out to men like Ebuka, Basket Mouth. I can list a couple of them, both who are men who stand for women. We tend to host a lot of shows together. I worked on radio for many years, and on the morning drive, which is the most important show on the radio, people from marketing will come into the studio to constantly add things that could have happened, and they would not talk to the woman. They would talk to the man. So how
even when you're hosting a show.
I remember one time we had to host a show in Abuja. I had been there 3 days before Basket arrived. He was the co-host. I was the host. And then when we're on the stage, before the show goes live, they keep coming to say, this is how you announce. And Basket had to say, hold up, hold up. Toke is the host of the show. I just arrived today. You know, she knows what is going on. I don't know what I'm doing here. Little things like that, which I know you've done several times when we get to host shows. So I don't think it's an empowerment issue. That whole competition thing has always been, a man will be begged to take a certain amount of money to host a show. As a woman, it's like, why should we pay you that much?
Do you know, another thing, I'm looking and I'm laughing because everything we say is important. And none of these issues, they are pivotal and deep-rooted issues that if we talk about just one, we will be here all night, all day. I'm talking about patriarchal mothers and matriarchs, those that feed the system. I don't blame some of them. You know, many of us are creatures of nurture. Many women, there are two sides, at least from research and constant talking about and experience I've heard women talk. There are two reasons I see why women support patriarchy. It's either that is all they know.
Ignorance.
And another thing, that is all they suffered. And many times when people feel pain, it's nice when you feel the same pain. So that maybe when they are internalizing their pain, the trauma of their lives, they want you to experience it also. So that you can truly know what. That is why sometimes I look at them from a point of empathy. Because these are women that they fought to open the door, which was a difficult thing to do. Opening the door for other women. Now they've opened the door, they've left the scene. Now some women fought to find a seat in the room or the door that was opened. That is another set of women. Now the set of women are fighting to keep themselves on these seats that this patriarchy think they've opened. So it's a difficult, every time, every season, every woman faces a different challenge. And for these women, the only thing we can offer them is empathy and knowledge. And the fact that we have to keep speaking our truths. And whether we like it or not, women have to keep fighting. I don't know when this fight will end. When my daughter, I put a camera to her face, and I heard my daughter talking. I said, okay.
At that age?
She's 20.
Just
she has an idea of what patriarchy means to her. And that is a Gen Z that doesn't even feel all the pain we felt. So for me, those women that seemingly don't support other women, they tend to lose a lot. Because these are some of the fountains we're supposed to feed from. But when the fountain that feeds you poisons you, the fountain will no longer be fed from. That means algae, other bacteria will live there and they become obsolete and forgotten.
Amazing way you put it. Now, we do definitely have to run out of this segment, but I want to ask you guys, what role do you think social media has played in the fight? Because you mentioned your daughter and camera real quick. You know, what role do you think social media has played and is playing in the fight against patriarchy?
I think even the case we have at hand, I mean, it's been all over the place. It's been everywhere.
Awareness is different these days.
Yes, it's
That's
different.
one thing you have to give social media.
Which is why I kind of said it's always been. The cameras is what's
Yeah, it was changing.
Yes. Things are changing. It's not like before. And I feel, just like what she was saying, about support. If the women in the house stood to say, this is wrong, the narrative will be different.
And just in raising kids as well, because you mentioned that, like when you're raising kids, don't raise them differently. Girls, boys, teach them, because we tend to do that subconsciously.
There's so many skills that I call life skills. It's not a woman's skill. Learning to cook for yourself is not a woman's skill. It's a life skill that everybody needs. And I'm thankful for social media because it has its pros, it has its cons. But as long as many of us can now look at everything, it's like a TV you can play back. You might be able to take a stand back and look at the issues again and see it from a different light. Because sometimes when you are in a situation, you might not really understand what is happening. But when you take a step back and you're able to look at it from like an out-of-body experience, you'll be like, okay, I should have spoken like that. This girl was
Thank you so much, ladies, for stopping by and just sharing your 1, 2, 3 cents. I definitely appreciate that. As this year's theme is, we accelerate action. So we put action behind every single, you know, conversations that we have. But thank you guys so much for coming, Miss Prudence and Lolo.
Don't just stand